There's a moment in your life when you notice someone who doesn't seem to follow the rules that everyone else quietly respects. They laugh a little too easily at flirtation. Their eyes linger longer than they should. People who cheat often carry a restless energy, a tension just beneath the surface as if the world is made for bending, not observing. You might see them in the small gestures, a hand brushing against someone else's shoulder, a casual text that feels too intimate, a lingering glance that vanishes when anyone notices. They move through social spaces with confidence, yet there's a pulse of anticipation in their steps, a desire that isn't easily satisfied. At first, it might seem like harmless charm, a spark of spontaneity that you almost admire from a distance. But behind that energy is something more constant, more insistent. People who cheat often act as if novelty outweighs the quiet rules we live by, as if curiosity and impulse matter more than loyalty or promises. You start to notice patterns when you spend time around them. They arrive early at parties, not to socialize, but to see what's new, to find an opportunity where attention can be captured. They're often drawn to those who feel available, who respond to flirtation with curiosity or amusement. There's a magnetic pull to them, but it's fleeting. Their focus shifts with every new spark. In relationships, they are attentive in moments that feel carefully curated. Compliments come at the right time, small gestures meant to charm or reassure. Yet there's an undercurrent that is always moving faster than the surface allows. Even as they show affection, their mind drifts to possibilities, the what-ifs, the unseen faces that might respond differently. Impulse often overrides consequence, and the thrill of novelty can feel irresistible. When alone, you might catch them staring out the window, scrolling through messages, imagining situations they've never had. Thoughts race in loops, not necessarily malicious but insistent. A text sent to the wrong person, a fleeting connection remembered too vividly. These are the signs of a mind that chases patterns of desire rather than stability. Their internal world is a mix of excitement and self-justification, where immediate gratification whispers louder than rules or promises. They operate in layers, too. In public, they might appear affectionate and committed, performing stability with precision. A weekend getaway, a shared joke, even mundane routines are handled with care. But small cracks appear, glances that last too long, laughter at someone else's jokes that goes beyond polite amusement. People who cheat develop a dual rhythm, a public persona and a private one, both interacting with the world in different ways. Their emotional patterns are revealing. Many have learned early that attachment is complicated, that intimacy can feel both safe and confining. When a relationship triggers anxiety or boredom, the instinct isn't to pause and reflect, but to seek stimulation elsewhere. This isn't always conscious. It is an urge, like a pull in the bloodstream that cannot be argued with. Over time, repeated behaviors form a map. Where novelty meets opportunity, desire often wins. Interactions are revealing. A conversation may start casually, full of laughter, and gradually drift into subtle testing, boundaries, reactions, vulnerabilities. They watch how people respond, learn which sparks ignite, which connections can be nudged. It's not always cruel, but it's persistent. People who cheat have learned patterns of attraction and persuasion that make it easy to step into moments of temptation, sometimes without even noticing. But the consequences are never absent. There's guilt in the quiet moments, the small spaces when no one else is watching. A partner's text that goes unanswered, a look remembered, a promise quietly broken, all leave traces. People who cheat often feel tension between their impulses and the moral boundaries society has set. Even if the thrill is momentary, the cost is cumulative, a shadow that grows with each choice. Repeated behavior also tells a story about attachment. Those with anxious or avoidant patterns can struggle to stay fully invested, seeking reassurance in novelty. Every flirtation, every secret encounter becomes a way to manage internal discomfort, a misguided attempt to feel alive or wanted. But these patterns don't erase accountability. They explain the psychology, not justify it. Observing these habits makes one see a person caught in cycles they choose to continue, often at the expense of those who trust them. You notice small consistencies, how they respond when confronted, a smile, a deflection, a charm that feels rehearsed, how they make choices in secrecy, late night texts, moments when no one is looking, how they rationalize internally. It's harmless, it's just a spark, they'll never find out. These internal negotiations are subtle but telling, a reflection of the constant negotiation between desire and conscience. And yet, some things remain simple and observable. The repeated behavior of chasing new connections, the nervous energy that rises when boundaries are close to being crossed, the thrill of risk that leaves a lingering smile. People who cheat live with these patterns every day, repeating choices that create ripples far beyond their own lives. It is a quiet, persistent shadow that follows their impulses, as predictable as it is destructive. Watching people who cheat is watching a constant tension between impulse and morality. You see the allure, the charm, the excitement, but also the consequences, the guilt, the patterns that cannot be ignored. Desire for novelty might feel immediate, but the effects stretch far beyond moments of thrill. This isn't a story of justification or of hidden wisdom. It's a reflection on choice and responsibility. People who cheat remind us that actions have weight, and that repeated decisions create a life defined less by intention and more by consequence. There is curiosity and restlessness in everyone, but it becomes dangerous when it overrides respect for others and the promises we make. In the end, the lesson isn't about them, it's about awareness, about understanding how impulsive desire works, how patterns of attachment shape behavior, and why trust, once broken, leaves a mark that cannot easily be erased. You can see the sparkle, the thrill, and the restlessness, but never forget the trail it leaves behind. Some people live for novelty, but in the quiet spaces after the charm fades, what remains is always the truth of their choices, echoing in the lives they touch.